This was summertime, in Australia, in the outback. We were in for a brutal ride. How it all started. The Australia Road Trip, Episode 5. From toilets in the middle of nowhere to foreshadowing on a script I didn't know I was in, it sure has been a wild ride. We're 5 episodes into this thing now, and I think we're entering the home stretch. Is this a title sequence or a whole show? We better speed this thing up. Well, if you've made it to episode 5, I thank you. Let's get on with the show. Here we have a wolf spider, a species of wolf spider that really fancies itself the trapdoor spider kind of lifestyle. But make no mistake, it is a wolf spider. A wolf spider that has just convergently evolved on the same lifestyle and tactics for procuring prey as a trapdoor spider, but just with a much more modern twist. I was actually on my way to go take a shower when I found this guy, and you can see here he's climbing on the bag I had some of my laundry in. They're pretty good at disguising their burrows. If you didn't know what you were looking for, you may struggle to see it. Here I'm going to lift it up so we can see inside. Now I will attempt to simulate a prey item by lightly tapping with my stick near the entrance to his burrow, sending signals via vibrations down the side of his wall and the filaments of his web. I'm going to give him a little tappy tap tap to say, dinner is served. At which point he comes exploding forth at a great rate of speed, ready to consume or attack whatever is intruding on his space. Let's slow that down real quick and watch it again. I think he may have thought that rock right there was a prey item, or whatever had just disturbed his burrow. Now, obviously it was really my stick, but if you watch, you can see him gather up those little pebbles there and put them in front of his mouth. Something else you'll have to look pretty closely to see that I'm only noticing upon reviewing the footage is this little wasp thing hovering around him. And it's not the first time I've seen this while filming a spider. I think it's a species of parasitic wasp that uses a spider as the host and lays its eggs inside them for the larvae to grow up feeding upon the spider. Though I think this spider was targeted by accident, as it seems much too large for the size wasp. I've slowed this scene by 50%, so you should be able to clearly see the little wasp flying all around. Well, I think getting to see this cool little guy was fun, and I hope you agree. But I don't think he agrees so much. I'm pretty sure he's pretty done with us. Well, I'd say the door slammed in our face is pretty good evidence of that being right, but there's plenty more out here to be found. Let's keep looking. Later that night, I found what I believe to be a stone gecko, though this one does look different in the way that I'm accustomed to them normally looking. Well, goodbye, little stone gecko. Later that night, whilst driving, I heard the sound of a belt breaking under the hood. I thought that it was the belt for the alternator, so I figured we ought to head back pretty quickly before we lose light due to a dead battery. I, however, was both relieved and mortified when I looked under the hood and realized that it was the belt for the air conditioner. This was summertime, in Australia, in the outback. We were in for a brutal ride.
Thank goodness for wing windows. Let's stay seeing. Our AC's busted and we're off on about a 10-hour drive. Also thanks to the sun going down. And with our busted exterior,
What was already to be a long drive turned out to be even longer, because the first store that I tried didn't stock parts for one of the most common vehicles in Australia. As for our choice of path, we took the longest available, as you can see here highlighted in blue, coming in at a whopping 14.5 hours that we made even longer due to the slow Land Cruiser and constant stopping to look for animals and snake driving at night. But hey, I came for adventure, and my less than reliable Land Cruiser made sure that I got it. Along our path, we stopped at this place. It was like part gas station, part general store, and then in the back there was like this miniature town / sort of hotel type of place, but people seem to live here long term. This whole area was a town made of very little except for a pub across the street, this fuel station, maybe one other general store, but all around here there were all these dragons running around. I was trying to film the area they were living in, we were trying to catch them. I think we got 2, and I got a picture of one coming up here in a second. Martin's holding on to it. For those of you that aren't aware, dragons are a variety of lizard. There are many different species of dragon inhabiting Australia. And where I would see them, I saw one that was running actually inside this cage over here, but then they would climb on the tree over to the right and run around in all these plants. And then just all along the ground in different logs, you'd see them. Once you're in the Northern Territory, dragons start becoming way more common to see. Back here in Queensland, more of our general lizard that you'll see out on paths and things are skinks. But once you get over into the NT, that starts to trade over to being more dragon life. Later at night, we stopped to admire a termite mound that we had found. When you get right up on these things, they're pretty cool. They're like their own little ecosystem. You see all kinds of things on them. On this one, we saw lots of beetles running across the surface, as well as geckos. As the camera pans up here, you can see the eye shine from a small critter perched atop the mound. Then I just had to turn the camera toward myself for a sense of scale, back when I still thought this was a big termite mound, and you can see I have a headlamp battery in my mouth. Then Peter decided that he just had to climb up on top of the termite mound. I guess the view is a bit better up there. The next day, arriving in town that evening, I finally got the parts I needed, my pulley and belt. Now, sadly enough, I still wasn't able to get it on due to even more problems. But that's pretty part of the course when it comes to vehicle repair. This bracket right here with the pulley rides on is what was giving me trouble, so I went in to see if I could buy another one of the brackets. As it turned out, I could not. Luckily, on the advice of a guy that worked at one of the parts stores, we went to go see this mechanic who lent us his time and machinery to get our old bolt out of the bracket so that we could reuse it. Then it was just time to slip the belt on. There you go. Then just a snugger on up, and then it's off to the races. Or, well, more realistically, we went to McDonald's, and then we proceeded to catch more reptiles. Next, we found a frog. And moving on. Next, we found some frogs having some fun. Look at these 2 little honeymooners. Just out for a tiny little hop. Because all their hops are tiny. Now this guy right here is a very special frog. So pay close attention. You need to remember this. He is a lonely frog. Panning back over the other way, we have this couple. They're still together. They're engaging in a behavior known as implexus, where the male will mount on the back and hold on very tightly, sometimes for very long periods of time, just waiting to get to fertilize the eggs. Oh, and when I say these frogs are tiny, they are very tiny. Here's a picture of one taken with a macro lens sitting on the tip of my finger. Due to circumstances where I may or may not have woken up to incredible amounts of heat in the morning, multiple mornings in a row, upset enough that I, may or may not have destroyed my tent in a fit of rage. So my sleeping arrangements have moved on to sleeping in a hammock tentatively protected from the bugs with a net. Well, good night from my cocoon. And be sure to come back next time, because we find a rope that, get this, it moves on its own. Well, it's been fun, and it's going to continue to be fun. So, until next time, and as always, thanks for watching.